My names are Anne Nekesa Juma. I'm the daughter to Vincent Nabichihi Juma, a veterinary doctor, and Margaret Nanjala Satia Waswa, a retired nurse, Bungoma District Hospital. I am the third born, and we are all 5 girls. We have lived a very tough life. I was born in 1987, September 12. At first, our family had peace, but it reached a point the family was full of violence from our dad, Vincent Juma. Our home area is Mabanga, but the original home of my mother is Kabula. But she was raised too in Mabanga, swallowed by her uncle into his own family who educated her, the late David Satia. This was after her mother died and they were facing a hard life. So that is how they met with my dad. The home areas are just separated by the road. So we have lived a difficult life, full of violence and torment. Our home place, Mabanga, was full of witchcraft, evil and wicked people. My father is a graduate, but when you look at him now, you can't believe he is a graduate. Much has happened, worse has happened. My father never used to drink alcohol, but it reached a point when we were young, he started with the addictions. And not just those addictions, but he started to be violent to us and mother. He used to come beat us. Even my own mother has scars of knife piercing. Sometimes he would strangle her. It became a pattern. The beatings, my mother runs away. Sometimes he runs away with us, but sometimes he just escapes alone. But when we remain in the hands of our father, sometimes he used to lock us inside the house, go drink, sometimes refuse to report to work. And his life became drinking alcohol. Sometimes he comes and starts beating us. And I remember one day, mother had run away. He came with a nyaunyu, and the violence started. So we are 5 girls. So we were locked in the house. And he instructed each and every of us to beat one another using the nyaunyu. And whoever does not beat another forcefully, he was the one who took over and did the beatings. So we have lived a very tough life. A life of bitterness. A life of sorrow. Sometimes you go, wake up, you go to school. But at home, you have left a fight. You don't know if when you return home in the evening, you are just 50-50. Either mother may be there alive, or she may have ran away back to their home. So these cases became a pattern, and my father never changed. He stopped educating us, paying the school fees, because he stopped even going to work. His life was full of dramas, even adultery. Sometimes he will take us and we go to a hotel or a bar, as young as we were. Then we will have the company of another woman, and he will tell us, this is your aunt. So when we come back at home, we tell mother that we had an aunt there. We were innocent, we didn't know. But as we grew up, we realized those aunts were just our father's other lovers apart from mother. So we have lived a tough life, full of bitterness, full of sorrow, full of cries. But all this is because of witchcraft that was done to my father. The dark slavery that was done to my father. And it reached a point that even the Mabanga home so it reached a point where we hated our home Mabanga. We just settled in Bungoma town, but visiting Mabanga became rare because of the witchcraft that was on that land from our own relatives, even on uncles and aunties. We will go home and you will find even our own aunties. They will take our pieces of hair. They just pull from our head and they go with it. You will walk on the way into the homestead. You find funny things along the way. So when grandfather died, during the distribution of the land, He was a polygamous. And at that time we used to hear one of her wives was in possession of a snake. She was evil. She used to look at us with bad eyes, evil eyes. So when grandfather died, during the distribution of the land, my father was given the smallest piece of land because they said that his portion was reduced because when he had to join university, a piece of land had to be sold to pay his school fees. So he was told that he will get the smallest piece of land. And more so, he was being told that he doesn't have a son. He only has daughters who will leave him. So why must he have a huge piece of land? So we accepted and we established a house. It wasn't that big. So sometimes we used to visit during the holidays, but it was just drama. Little piece. Even our own grandmother, the mother to my dad, was not pure. So it reached a point we went into exile. Over like 10 good years, we never visited Mabanga. We just stayed in town. And during this time, too, our father had disappeared from us. We don't know where he went. We don't know where he lived. But he disappeared completely. So this was after we had a case in court about the violence that he usually did. Because I remember Lynette and I, Lynette is my second born sister, we were called to testify. And when we were called to testify, he was asking us, am I not your dad? Am I not your dad? Why do you want me to be put in prison? So we have undergone a hell of life. He abandoned our mother, and our mother had to take care of us all. All the burden now was left for her. I remember this period we suffered a lot. We suffered a lot. Even eating sometimes was just a problem. Sometimes mother will walk to somewhere, to her relatives, our aunts and uncles, just to look for food. Even sometimes she will come with some vegetables. Sometimes bananas. And sometimes we had to sell them. We go and sell at Mutambo area in Bungoma, so that at least we get that cash and buy some other things. We used to go to school with torn uniforms. No fees. We schooled at Father Wolstra Academy in Musikoma. Sometimes you have no books. It was tough life for us and mother. Most of the years we lived around Middlestore area. There was a land down opposite. We lived in the land of Macharia. And this is the place where we experienced the worst of everything. At night we sometimes slept, but we had little sleep. On the roof we could hear funny sounds, something scratching, some falling with a blow, funny things and funny sounds. And it reached a point when we woke up every morning, opening the door, we always got a bone on the doorstep. We don't know who put that bone, when was it done, at what time, but it became a habit each and every day. Opening the door is a bone at the door. Opening the door is a bone at the door. But my mother used to take that bone and throw it in the pit latrine. So during this difficult period, my mother tried to find prayers. We were Catholics. The church that we have been born in, tumesoma dini Bungoma Catholic Church. But during this period moment, as we used to go to Bungoma Catholic Church, but when things became more worse, my mother decided to seek help from the spiritual churches. So she consulted not one church, even some of the uniformed churches. There was a mama in Mjini, Nairobi, and I remember we used to go to those prayers. This mama who was praying to us was doing some things unknown. She would sometimes demand for a candle, light that candle, rotate it. The diviners, a spiritualist, in the name of prayer. And even she seeks the help of another uniformed church, the Nabi Christian Church. It was there at Lady Irene. The pastor was a lady. Her too was doing some things unknown. But my mother was held captive. As we usually visited there, not always. But in the end, my mother was delivered from this captivity. So she has sought the help of many churches, because the altars were great. We were completely chained and locked. So sometimes we will walk to school when there was no bus, and rarely we will meet our father along the road. We used to greet him because he had fled, and we heard that he married again. So that was our life. And I remember when we were young, our mother took us I remember it was the road, Ranje Road. We were took somewhere. We were young. I remember I was young. But I remember this mother who made some incisions on our skins and applied some ashes in the name of protection from witchcraft. So we grew seeking help, my mother seeking help, because Mabanga, we were living far, but was still under their torment. So at last we had to move from Macharia's place because we stayed there the longest period of years. And staying there at Macharia, it reached a point that my father would go and drink alcohol and fail to notice you as your own child, as his own child. He will come sometimes, play with you, entertain you, sing for you, but sometimes he will come as a monster. So until there was a time, we noticed that he loved the game of draft. That game where you draw some boxes in the cardboard that people normally use some bottle tops. So we sometimes played that game so that we could distract him, so that his mind just remains on that game, so that we have peace in the house. But it got worse until there was a time we no longer called him father. I remember we nicknamed him Mjama because of everything that he did to us. I remember these two front teeth of mine. My mother had fled and he came home. He loved the traditional vegetables of Saga. So he was eating, and when he was eating, he demanded for more, and I had eaten. So in his anger, he gave me a hot slap. This hot slap made my teeth come off, these two front teeth, upper teeth. So we have lived a bad life of sorrows. Even some people who used to see us at that time, we have grown big, old, married. When we meet them, they don't believe it's us. Because they witnessed all the violence and troubles that we were going through. I remember when I had to join in 2001, there was no fees. Our firstborn, Regina, was in Lugulu Girls, Form 4. Lynette was in Kamsinga Girls, Form 3. And there was no fees. I was at home. Lynette also at home. Regina also at home. No school fees. Mother has no money. At that time, during those difficult period, even relatives, we never used to see them. The only relatives that we remembered used to visit most and help us were from my mother's side, especially our uncle, the late Father Gabriel Muhongo. And brother to my mother, Francis Makoha. Those are the people that mainly visited us. My mother took my father the case to the children's court, and some deductions were being made, but those deductions were not enough. But as much as these deductions were made, this never pleased my father. It's like he held a grudge to my mother. So sometimes even during this separation, I remember one time we used to, when we have gone to school, mother's gone to work. One day we came home and found our dad from nowhere had come and broke into the house. Everything in the house was in a mess. I don't know what he was looking for. I just don't know. And even that day, I remember we had cooked githeri, but our mother advised us not to eat that food because we are not sure what has been put into it. Because we heard the woman that he married, she was Anyala, and she was a person against us, against even our own fathers supporting us. Sasa alizidi kumkoroga na kumkaranga kwa madawa, so that he hates us, to see us that we are not his own daughters or family. And I remember another night, we had just eaten supper, and he was around. I just don't know what happened, but all I remember, my father took the latrine lamp and threw it to my mother, and we were left in darkness. But what he did, when my mother fell on the floor, he sat on her and he was strangling her to death. So we were there helpless. We had to scream. Neighbors came. They tried to pull him away, but they couldn't. It's like he was having some extra energy. So we continued screaming. But the people who came to help us, and I remember that day, the only thing that our father had, he had wrapped a towel on his waist. But on top he was bare chest, but strangling my mother. So, with the screams, there was some policemen on patrol. When they heard the screams, they came. And when they came, seeing what was happening, they had a nyaunyo. So one of them took that nyaunyo and hit my father on the back. That's when my father let go of my mother. And when he let go of my mother, the following morning, my mother had to run away. So we have lived a very tough life. And all this is because of witchcraft that was done to my father. And not from other people, but the people of his own household. Some his own brothers, like the late John, Uncle John. There was Kuhu Anyesi. So when my mother sought these prayers, someone told her, there in the land of Macharia, we have been jailed. We are under captivity. Never to stagnate, never to move, to keep on staying in stagnation, no prosperity, troubles and sorrows, troubles and sorrows. So she was advised that the best thing is to move from that place. So this same 2001, I had to join Form 1. And there was no fees. Sometimes my mother will leave us and travel to Nairobi just to make a follow-up. Sometimes the money that she was supposed to be given to be sent to sometimes delayed. So sometimes she will leave us and try to make a follow-up. She will travel at night. During the day, she makes the follow-ups and then come back during the night. So that is the life that we lived in. We had no one to look unto, no one to help. So Lynette stayed at home. Regina also stayed at home. They stayed for long at home. But because Regina was bright, the principal at that time, Mrs. Swere, she sent a word that she should go back to school and just do the examinations. And later, she will finish the school fees. So that was a miracle that God did. Regina went back to school. Then Lynette was there and I was there, supposed to join Form 1. So my mother found some money and Lynette was able to go back to school. So I remained. No school fees, no means of going to school, joining Form 1. So the whole of first term, I never joined school. And this too is the period when we managed to shift from Macharia's place in Middlestock, and we settled in nurses' quarters, hospital quarters near the Bungoma district